I love to use the word wonderstorming. Like, just wonderstorm for a minute. Like, wonder, what's for 1 minute? Could just get started for 1 minute. Anyone can do anything for 1 minute. How can you just fill your cup up at the start of each day? What does that look like for you? It could be just getting up and getting your coffee and just sitting quietly, just having a moment of peace for 1 minute. It could be, if you know me, I love to read. I'm always reading a different book and everything like that. It could just be, even if you're like, I can't read a paragraph, I can't even read a chapter, just read a sentence. Just get started with some one thing, right? That's one simple, easy thing that you can do. Meditate, breathe for 1 minute, do a yoga pose.
Welcome to Functional Medicine Coaching Moms podcast, where simplifying healthy lifestyle change for moms is the only goal.
Hi, everyone. We are so happy to have Elyse Wagner, the founder and chief wellbeing officer of Functional Medicine Coaching Academy. Elyse is an author, speaker, certified nutritionist, and mental health counselor. She is married and has a 6-year-old daughter. This episode is for you if you've struggled to make healthy lifestyle changes for yourself and or your family. Let's face it, we've all been there, and we are either trying to eat healthier or getting in better shape or find ways to reduce stress. And it can feel very confusing. You can feel very alone. And sometimes you even feel lost in this process, especially as a mom.
As a global leader in functional medicine and health coaching, Elyse is mission-driven to impact over 1 billion lives through health education, support, community, and leadership. Her purpose is to inspire others to take ownership of their well-being, becoming the best version of themselves by creating optimal health that is sustainable for a lifetime. And I just have to say for our audience that both Raquel and I graduated from Functional Medicine Coaching Academy, and it really transformed our lives. We wouldn't be here today on this podcast without all the coaching we experienced as part of the certification.
Yes. So, Elyse, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I will add that functional medicine health coaching was the best thing that we never knew we needed. That being said, I have a double fold question for you. And that is, what is functional medicine? And secondly, what is a functional medicine health coach, and how do the two come together?
Okay, great question. First of all, I just have to say thank you. Thanks for having me on today. And also thank you for owning this piece in your life, your own life, going through FMCA and then coming together to create this amazing space for moms, for women, and for functional medicine, just to share and spread. That's really what it's about at the end of the day, I think personally, is relationships and community. So
Yes.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is functional medicine? Well, functional medicine in a nutshell is it's a systems-based, evidence-based approach. And it's really a philosophy. It's a way of thinking and looking at the whole person, but also going upstream. When we think about medicine in general, like traditional conventional medicine, can often think of if you can visualize like a tree, right? And the branches in the tree. A lot of medicine is segmented into, cardiology or nephrology, kidneys, or, you can keep going on and on and on. Whereas functional medicine is really about looking at that whole picture, the whole ecosystem, kind of from like a biopsychosocial environmental approach and getting down to the roots. It's really the medicine of asking why instead of what, and not just slapping a pill for every ill onto something. It's really about like, well, how is everything interconnected here? And why is this really happening? Let's keep digging. Let's get to the root cause so we don't have to keep, uh, again, putting a Band-Aid onto something. And it's also about taking different lifestyle approaches, to really support the human being, from the mental, emotional aspect to the relationships to food and nutrition to exercise and movement. These are all amazing, beautiful things that we have within our control to really make a shift in our own health and well-being. And of course, you all as functional medicine health coaches out there make it all happen. You guys are the how, the glue. That's a little bit in a nutshell about what functional medicine is. And then, of course, functional medicine coaching, like I just said, functional medicine. When Dr. Sandy and I started FMCA, we both came from, Sandy is a clinical psychologist by training. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and nutritionist by training, was also a patient of functional medicine myself. And we realized that there is this gap in healthcare between practitioners and providers and their patients or their clients. Doctors do a fabulous job at pinpointing, what's wrong and how to fix it, whether they're conventional, traditional, even functional medicine doctors. And yet sometimes, we're given these directives and sometimes they're just like a minute or two long, or they're just even a piece of paper. Here you go, do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And unless you've got someone who's super motivated and really honestly coming from a space of, I would say, like pain, they've been through a ton, they've had a really long journey or struggle. Oftentimes these directives are layered. There's a lot to them. There's things that get in the way. Oftentimes our own emotion set, our mindset as well. And to help take the burden off and really create ease, that's where the functional medicine health coach comes in, who understands what the directives might be from a provider and who also can really just speak that common language of
Right.
the client and meet them where they're at and create and hold this safe space, kind of like what you guys are doing with the podcast, but they can do this one-on-one or in groups and help people to really make it okay to start taking ownership of their health and well-being, start making strides, create confidence in themselves, and start living a healthier, happier lifestyle.
I love that. Like just the fact that you're kind of taking charge of your own health, because the traditional model just seems so passive, like where you go to the doctor and they give you maybe a prescription or something, and then you're kind of off on your way, and you might be trying to make some changes on your own, but it's really hard out there. Like I know my personal experience when I first saw a functional medicine provider, they wanted me to make a lot of dietary changes and things for my kids, and it was really challenging and I felt really alone. And after I came to FMC, I was like, wow, if I had had this piece, like, I feel like I could have excelled at this so much faster and like, not wasted as much time on my own, just trying to figure it all out, using Dr. Google and, and like different resources like that.
Yeah. And I've been there too. I mean, I was totally there. I was a patient, myself. I was in grad school actually getting this double master's in nutrition and clinical health psychology. And here I was sick as a dog and no one could figure out what's going on with me. I probably saw 10 different providers. And it wasn't until I saw a functional medicine doctor who said, well, I've got a hunch and we're going to do some genetic testing and get to the root cause, where we were actually able to come up with a diagnosis. But you're so right. It can feel so isolating sometimes, just alone in general as, a human being, and then as a mom, but then also when you've got kiddos as well, and
Right.
managing and trying to support yourself
Hmm.
as well as your children's health. I mean, being a mom in general is one of the probably biggest jobs that we all have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
And
not
it
to
never
mention our husbands, right?
exactly.
Making
Yeah.
sure that they're on track. So does that have that experience that you had that you're speaking of have something to do with why you created the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy?
Yeah, one of the many, many reasons, there's kind of twofold if I can share really quick.
Absolutely. Love to hear.
When I was in grad school, I was 25, 26 years old. I remember literally to this day, it was so impactful sitting in this, Seattle, Washington. So sitting in this dreary, cold doctor's office and with the doctor coming in and really just giving me my diagnosis of celiac disease, an autoimmune disorder, which even though I was in grad school and learning all this information and had an underdegree in nutritional science underneath me already, that was a whole new world to me. Going autoimmunity, going gluten free. I remember standing in my kitchen, honestly, just crying and being like, this is hard. And I wish, and obviously the universe, answered my prayers in some, rhyme or reason. But I was like, I wish I had someone who I could almost like clone myself, a little bit of myself, who could see my blind spots and help me get to where my mountain was,
Mm.
just feeling better. Just being it, like the littlest things, being able to wake up and not feel cloudy, being able to wake up and go and get changed and put my jeans on. I mean, I remember there was days when I would just get up out of bed and be like, how fast can I run into my closet to put my jeans on? Because I know the minute that I eat anything, a banana, you name, I mean, I would just inflame. My entire body would just go into inflammation mode. I didn't understand all the facets of really healing myself from an autoimmune disorder. And I was determined not to be defined by this dis-ease.
Mm.
I really believe that what the mind can conceive, the
Yes.
body can achieve. And I believe that if we lead ourselves into health, we become that. And so I was determined with the tools and the skills that I personally had to that point, in my life, with whole real foods, with a positive attitude and positive psychology
Mm-hmm.
and functional medicine underneath, my belt, and starting to learn, really dig into that space, that I was going to really change myself first. And then I didn't want anyone else. I don't want anyone to struggle as
Right.
much as,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized I can't be the only one struggling out there. There's got to be other people. And so
Yeah.
that's why I'm beyond so grateful that Sandy and I's paths crossed. And she had been in this world for far longer than I had been. And we had very similar visions and values and passion. And we saw the gap together, and we wanted to close that gap with functional medicine health coaches and train them so that they could go out and help others make these behavior changes, these lifestyle changes. So that was one piece of it. That's one of the reasons, when I want to go backwards a little bit, when I was 13 years old, I was overweight. I was about 200 pounds at 13 years old, and I was
Wow.
made fun of. It was called obese Elyse. I never knew you could rhyme my name with something and go ahead, go figure.
Right.
And, instead of going into like a victim mindset about it and really letting that define me, I became curious. That's one of my top strengths. And I was like, yeah, why am I like bigger? And why don't I always feel good after I eat certain things? And so I got very curious and I turned within, and I said, like, internally, intuitively, I knew where to get started, which was food. I could make that connection. Certain foods and me just didn't agree. And that's a really easy place, I think, to get started with, is our food first. I went downstairs and went to my mom. We're all moms here. So, if you're a mom listening and, your kid comes down and tells you something like this, your ears are probably, and your heart is probably going to perk up a little bit. And I said
Mm.
to my mom, I'm not happy with myself. I don't like myself. I don't like the way I look, and I don't like the way I feel. And I know that I shouldn't look and feel this way. I
Wow.
need help. And
Mm-hmm.
it brings a little tears to my eyes because my mom, actually, who's now a functional medicine certified health coach, she really was my first coach. She
Wow.
advocated with me, for me. She helped me to find someone who was going to support me,
Yeah.
and luckily at the time, and this is not a knock on nutritionists or registered dietitians, but they wouldn't see me due to liability reasons. And I'm grateful because that led me to a holistic nutritionist who really was taking a functional medicine approach at the time. And what I mean by that is that I went into her office. She didn't have a chair across the table from me. She took a chair and brought it right next to me.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
And
Yes.
she leaned in.
Mm.
She asked me so many open-ended questions. Tell me
Mm-hmm.
about this. What are you eating? Tell me how you feel, like that. And to be 13 years old and to be heard, to be seen, to be listened to like that, that was, even now, and it's a little bit more, I think, common now, but back in 2000, this is going on 20 some odd years ago,
Mm-hmm.
it was not very common.
Yeah.
Um, And she really, together, I was ready, right? Now knowing this, right? I was ready to make change. It was very important. I was confident because I had her on my side. I had my mom and, my corner as well. And so together we co-created a plan. So it really was functional medicine way back then. It was collaboration. We co-created a plan and I implemented. So it wasn't her just telling me what to do, but I took that and I implemented, kind of becoming my own coach in a sense. And within 2 months, I lost 50 pounds. There was no dieting, there's no calorie
Wow.
counting, there was no weighing. It truly was, let's take out the crap, let's take out all of the processed foods and the pop and the candy and all of that kind of stuff, because I grew up on the sad American,
Mhm.
American diet. I was eating Pringles and, Cheez-Its, all this stuff, right? It just wasn't serving me. And so we went to this whole real foods way of eating, and my body just responded in the most miraculous way. And that was my first insight is food is medicine. I have to share this message with the world. And then a second insight came, which was more of a curiosity, and it still is to this day. It's still like my driving fire inside of me is this curiosity again of like, why is all this information so accessible to us, but people are not making the shifts and the changes?
Mhm.
How come?
Yeah.
I want to know.
That's so true. Yeah.
We
So
have everything at our fingertips, like, whenever
Yeah.
we want it. Like,
Yeah. And
all
it's
the information.
and I feel like that's what, like, Kristen and I starting this, like, that was the biggest thing is like, we just feel like, gosh, it's almost like there's too much information and it's coming at you and you're trying to raise your family and you're trying to make the right decisions and you feel overwhelmed. It's almost paralyzing. And you have your own stuff that you're feeling. And if I'm a single parent, but I did have a husband once, and if he has stuff that he's also, and you're like, it's like a whirlwind. And what I love about your story is, and I feel emotional because it's like you had your mom there. You created a team, a support system that
mhm.
created the space where you can believe in yourself and your idea for yourself, and that they fed the idea of the best version of yourself and they saw it with you.
Yeah.
That's never been reflected back to me in a way like that. So I really appreciate hearing that. And that's such a huge part of the entire functional medicine and coaching movement in general is that
Yes.
support and that community. And it's I would say like functional medicine health coaches put the fun in functional medicine and the we in wellness because and I think Sandy says this, so I won't, I want to quote her accordingly, but wellness is a team sport. We don't do
Yes.
this
Mhm.
alone and we need each other. We really do.
Yeah, I think too your story is so inspiring because, like, your age, like, 13 is such a precarious age. Like, if they had taken a different approach with you, it could have turned out way different. Like, if it had just been like, "Here's this plan, you need to count calories, you're gonna have to do these workouts," or whatever, that would have been so overwhelming and just, not like that team approach as you're talking about. So, I love that.
Yeah, it would have set me on a completely different trajectory, I think. And I think it probably could have really turned me off because what I had
Mhm.
told my mom is if we don't do something about this, like what I can see into the future is this is not going down a good road. I don't know what that
Mhm.
meant, but there
Mhm.
was, if I was reading something the other day, it's like at about age 12, we really turn to the outer world to take in a lot of these belief systems and kind of shut off that inner wisdom that we have. And it's in each and
Mhm.
every one of us that we have,
Mhm.
especially as women. I truly believe that we have knowings. We know,
The inner voice.
and that is something that I really encourage everyone to do a little bit. You're right. We have so much coming at us, from the minute that we wake up in the morning to just
Mm.
looking on our phone from social media to if you have the TV on or news on or whatever. And I just encourage people like even just to start out for like 1 minute. 1 minute a day before you
Yes.
even do anything. Just turn down that external noise and let's turn up that internal voice within us. And we all have a language that we can speak with, with our bodies, right? So they're just very full of wisdom.
And that leads us into our last question for you is just what are, two things that moms could do starting today? And what you gave was just a great example, but I'm sure you have more of what they could do today just to simplify healthy lifestyle change, feel like they start to make some progress in their lives.
Yeah. Well, and I want to be really mindful of how I share this because it's like you put health and well being out there, and everyone has their own unique definition, as they should, right? As they should. Everyone is unique and personalized and has their own lifestyle. What I would encourage moms out there is a little encouragement that I give myself on a daily basis. I live it, I breathe it. And it has proven to be really powerful for me and also for my daughter, right? We all have kids who are looking at us, watching us. We are the models for the future.
Yes.
And the first things that I do, and I want to encourage everyone to see how this I encourage you just to kind of play with this, like suspend judgment, suspend, you know, any kind of doubt. And just, I love to use the word wonderstorming, like just wonderstorm for a minute, like wonder, what's for 1 minute. You could just get started for 1 minute. Anyone can do anything for 1 minute. How can you just fill your cup up at the start of each day? What does that look like for you? It could be just getting up and getting your coffee and just sitting quietly, just having a moment of peace for 1 minute. It could be, if you know me, I love to read. I'm always reading a different book and everything like that. It could just be, even if you're like, I can't read a paragraph, I can't even read a chapter, just read a sentence. Just get started with one thing, right? That's one simple, easy thing that you can do. Meditate, breathe for 1 minute, do a yoga pose for 1 minute. The other thing that has been really helpful for me is to get up in the morning. And this might sound a little cray cray, but it's really about showing ourselves love, because what we're really doing is starting to chip away at what society and, has shoved us in one kind of direction. And we're starting to kind of swing the pendulum back. And so it's really about leading yourself first. And I think leading with love. And so what does that look like for you on a daily basis? One of the things that I do is I go to the mirror every morning. I look myself in the mirror and I say, good morning, Elyse. I love you. What can I do for you today? And I just let that answer kind of bubble up for me as I'm kind of getting ready in the morning. And then I do it. And that builds that little muscle and strength of discipline and self-confidence and just love. And so when my daughter sees me doing these tiny little things that may seem almost silly or insignificant, they're not. They're super deep and meaningful. And it's giving her a model of how she can truly treat herself. Wow. And that's, I think, where it really starts. So
I love that. And those are very simple things. Like we don't need a lot of time, but we want to be a little consistent with it to see the benefit.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's been a hot topic for Kristen and I. Today's only Wednesday, but it feels like a much longer week. And we've and we've just been like talking about that, like time versus consistency. What's more important? Like, for example, a mom that realizes she needs more exercise, right? But she's like, oh, I don't have an hour. I got to go to the gym. I got to do this. And it just seems so daunting on top of everything else that she already has to do. She's a working mom, whatever. Even if you're not a working mom, like it's just like a whole hour. And it's just like, that's just a workout. Never mind getting to a gym, getting your gym clothes on, just getting, just the whole process. And we were talking about, I've done an experiment this past week where I've just been doing like a 5-minute workout. And then I've done a 5-minute run. And it's not like running the whole time. I started with walking and a light jog, and for 5 minutes. And then I come inside and I do a 5-minute workout. And I've been able to do that 6 days out of the week. I gave myself 1 day off, and it wasn't daunt and I was like, even the days like today, I didn't want to do it this morning, and it's like, okay, it's 5 minutes. And so I was able to do it. It was 5
Yeah.
minutes. It was like I was able to do it, and what we realize is that it elevated my confidence
Mhm.
100% because I was being consistent with myself, with my word. And even those 5 minutes, if I was doing we're doing an experiment, 10
Yeah, we
squats,
are. Yeah.
10
Yep.
push-ups, and 10 sit-ups, just running it for the clock for 5 minutes. And
Hmm.
I did 3 full rounds and got up to like the third exercise and did like 5 reps. I didn't get all the way. So it was like, it was
Yeah.
almost
No,
4 rounds.
and you actually feel a difference in your body. Like
Yeah.
if you compare that, doing that for 5 minutes, I was out of breath. I could feel I used my muscles. Then I jumped in the shower. If I had just jumped in the shower without doing all that, I would have felt different. It's the mindset too. It's both. It's
100%. And it's like, what version of yourself do you want to be? Because you might think like, oh, 5 minutes, that's nothing. I'm not, so you don't do it. But then if you actually say, you know what, I wonder what 5 minutes of like, what would that feel like? And it was a thing. And when you do it I'm doing it 6 times a day for the week, I feel consistent. I feel great in my body, and it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. And the time that we think about doing it or getting to the gym or all of that, if you like compound all of that up, the thinking, the time spent thinking, the procrastination, it's like
procrastination. Oh
5 minutes
yeah.
is nothing. And so, yeah. And even if you're thinking like 5 minutes is too much or I don't have the time, just start with a minute, 160 seconds. You can do,
Yeah.
I mean, you can flip to a page of the book. Sometimes I'll do that if I only have a
Mhm.
minute and I will read the most fascinating sentence and it will
Mhm.
just inspire me and light me up. So
Mhm.
we just
Yeah.
have just 1 minute a day or 5 minutes, whatever you choose. But it's the choice is totally up to you. Yeah.
Right.
Love
Mhm.
Well,
that.
thank you so much, Elise. This has been such
Thank
a
you.
wonderful conversation. And just even like really getting to know you on such a deeper level. It's really wonderful. Thank you for everything that you shared. I just want to let everyone know that if you want to connect with Elise on Instagram, her handle is at Elise_Wagner. And you can also connect with her on LinkedIn. Her LinkedIn is Elyse Wagner. You can also check out www.functionalmedicinecoaching.org to learn more about the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy. And I would like to add, moms make amazing coaches.
That is
And
so true.
yeah,
I love that. Yep.
and if it's something you've ever thought about, the way to go is through FMCA. That's hands down. You think that, you are going through the process. You think that you're going to be a certified health coach, which you are, you're being a certified health coach and you're going to help others, but you end up having so much more than just becoming a certified health coach. You get so much personal growth as a result of the process of becoming a coach. And it literally does change your life. And that is why I said earlier that functional medicine health coaching is the best thing we never knew that we needed. So,
Mhm.
if you are interested in becoming a coach, or you want to just even talk about what that idea could look like for you in your life, contact Elyse and use the word FMCM for a discount. But definitely check it out because I think that moms do make amazing coaches, just comes natural to us.
Absolutely. And it's a flexible career too. So can do it from anywhere,
Yeah,
all over the country. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys all creating this space and holding the space, letting me share my story. I hope it was inspiring and
super.
provided some insights for some of those mamas out there. And I encourage you to connect with me and love to just keep expanding and transforming healthcare together. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
The information provided in this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, curing, treating, or preventing any disease. We are functional medicine certified health coaches and not licensed medical professionals. The opinions and advice of guests are their own and also not considered to be medical advice. Always consult with a healthcare professional when making any healthy lifestyle changes. We would love to hear from our mom community. Any wellness topics that are high on your list, please DM us at Functional Medicine Coaching Moms. We can also be reached via email at info@functionalmedicinecoachingmoms.com. You can find Functional Medicine Coaching Moms podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the subscribe button.